Far. And Rob, speaking of putting their money down, there was a story that caught your eye that you kind of really wanted to say something about, and that is Tony Dungy, the all-time great coach, and now a broadcaster who's actually doing this game tonight on NBC. But he was critical of the NFL's embrace and partnership with sports betting. Here's a quote that Tony said. I don't know why the NFL changed its stance because they used to be very much against gambling. My objection is just personal. I don't think we should encourage people who are watching the NFL to gamble, especially young people. So you had some strong thoughts you want to share on this, Rob. What do you
Yeah, I mean, I think Tony Dungy is right. I get where the NFL and these other leagues, baseball's done it, NBA, because now that it's legal in some states, they feel like, well, the onus is off of them as far as, it's legal. Well, before it wasn't legal, but still, Chris, when the NFL wasn't like advocating gambling, it did stuff that aided gambling, right? Like having to release your injuries before people could put their bets in on Friday. Do you know what I mean? Like that was, who was that for?
Who was
knew
that
people,
right.
Do you know what I'm saying, Chris? That's a clear cut, like, we're working with you, okay? Because they don't have to.
Because that makes the game more popular.
They didn't have to make it public, is what I'm saying. Yep. So they did those things so that people could gamble on it and know. If you didn't know, like, the starting quarterback or running back was out, Chris, and you placed a bet, and then you find out on Saturday they're not playing.
Oh, right. You're going to be
salty. That would stop you from making a bet, right, on the NFL.
Right.
All right. So Tony, the interesting thing is, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, Tony's well-respected. Tony has a voice. He's come out against some stuff. But Bob Costas also came out against the NFL, if you remember, Chris, on the CTE and those things. And the league didn't like it. And soon before you know it, Bob wasn't doing football anymore. And now this gambling thing, they're all the way in on gambling. Gambling's not going the other way.
All the way in, right?
They're all the way in.
Right.
My question to you, as you think about, is the scandals that will follow. And that's what I'm interested in.
You said will follow, not could.
Not could.
So you think there definitely will be scandals?
There will be, yes.
So expound on that. What do you mean
there were always
scandals?
Gambling scandals before.
Right, way back in the day.
Right. But now I think there's a chance because, Chris, you might have inside information. You're a player. You know Tom Brady's practiced this week, but he ain't playing. Like they got him as questionable or whatever, but you know he's not playing. That puts you at a big advantage, doesn't it? Even if it's your team. Like, our guy's not playing.
So obviously, like a player, well, he's not going to bet.
But his family,
others,
his friends, other people, inside information, stuff tracked back to players. I just think that there's more temptation now. There's a team in Vegas now, like where guys might be a little more laxed about sharing information because they don't see anything. All we see is DraftKings, and all we see is Caesars Sportsbook, is the sponsor for the Odd Couple and all that. We see all that now. Why would we be afraid of it? Do you know what I mean? I think there's a chance that we have some scandals or people get caught up in it. That's the big thing as we go forward, and as gambling's legal. I wonder how much the NFL and the other leagues are getting into letting, because I think the players still have an edict, Chris, that they can't bet, right? They can't
absolutely.
bet.
Absolutely. I think the scenario you painted, Rob, is very likely. I mean, like you said, that could even be accidental in many cases, right? I mean, just, you're just talking with friends or family or whoever. Yeah, Brady's not going this week. Really? I mean, they said he's practicing, but trust me, he's not. And you're not even saying it to give them, to aid them in a bet, but you just say it. So that's going to happen. I feel like the leagues, not just the NFL, the leagues.
Right. This is not
Rob,
an NFL problem. Right.
Let me ask you if you think this is one of the reasons that the leagues don't feel like there's going to be, because the big things are point shaving. That's really what you don't want. I mean, that's why, even though we don't know for sure what, we know some of the things with Pete Rose, but, just the hint, the possibility that you could have influenced games. That's why he's still, persona non grata in baseball. And Rob, I feel like the leagues think the money is so big now that, guys aren't going to go for that now because they're making so much money playing the game that there's no reason for them to, bet or shave points or what have you.
But the difference is,
everybody's not making all that money.
There you go.
Now,
all right, Chris,
you just said it.
You just said it.
Now, and it doesn't have to be a huge, you would think, well, yeah, but the guys that are good enough and playing a lot and the guys that'll have an impact on the game, either positively or negatively, they are making money. But not everybody. There's rookies that aren't making a ton yet, right? There's some guys that aren't making big money that have big roles in games. It only takes a little bit here or there, Rob.
Chris,
but I'm not predicting that, but that's the biggest fear that you have, right? Point shaving.
There was a story. I don't know if people really knew about this, but there was a player named Josh Shaw who the NFL suspended, a defensive back for the Arizona Cardinals who was on injured reserve in August for the 2020 season. The league received a tip that Shaw, on multiple occasions during the 2019 season, had a bet on NFL games. This is, this is 20, right? Shaw reportedly traveled to Las Vegas with friends from high school earlier that fall, and it was reported by Ian Rappaport. Shaw placed sports bets for the first time based on a misinterpreted understanding of the Supreme Court ruling about gambling. He thought it was okay, now that the Supreme Court said that gambling. So the wager was a 3-team parlay that included Shaw's Cardinals. So he bet on his team, with his team.
Wow.
Which he bet against covering the second half spread against Tampa Bay. He wound up losing the wager. But this is what I'm talking about whistleblowers, people saying they're getting information from players. I think there's a chance. I think what Tony Dungy's saying is more about the morality of it, that the NFL shouldn't be pushing it. In gambling, Chris, he's a Christian man, right? I mean, gambling's
I agree. I think Tony's looking at it he mentioned young people and people who, because they're young, they might not be the greatest decision makers at times.
And gamble away their money.
Yeah, you're wasting your money gambling. And it could hurt a lot of people, and you get in debt, Rob. And that's where, and like you said, the players can't do it, or at least that's the rule. But that's where it gets scary, is when guys, even if it were an athlete, where you get so deep in debt that now some people have control of you. And they didn't want, because obviously, Rob, even when it wasn't legal and when the leagues weren't in cahoots with the gambling, obviously there still was a chance that, and actually you could get in trouble with some shady characters.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Chris, you remember in college basketball, they don't want you to score no points. They just need you to miss a few free throws. That
absolutely.
Like people don't understand. Yes. It's not you're averaging 35 points and they say, man, just score 12 tonight. That they don't want that.
Right.
They want you to say,
they don't want it
hey,
obvious.
No, they want you to say, we need you to miss 3 free throws. He's an 85% free throw shooter, and we need you to miss 3. That's all we need you to do.
Yeah.
And we'll give you that money.
No, you're absolutely right. It's interesting. I mean, I understand where Tony's coming from, certainly from the perspective of, you don't want young people getting addicted to gambling or wasting their money, people that can't afford it,
I think his heart's in the right place. But
Yeah.
but I think it's a tough spot for the NFL, Chris, especially because it's football season. We're talking about it, but a tough spot for the NFL because it is legal in some states.
Right.
Just like you could
Right.
talk about the strip clubs and all these other places, but these are legal establishments, right? They follow government guidelines and different things, and you can't legislate morality. That's the problem.
Right. In certain cases, for sure. And so, it's an interesting situation that the league's going to have to really keep an eye on these players, make sure that, because it's not the stars, Rob, the role players, the bench
But you got to
guys.
remember, 60% of the league is filled up with role players who
Right.
average 3.5 years.
Yep.
And you know what? Like, they're not making. They don't have
If
$100
I'm
million
having a cup
coming.
of coffee and a sweet roll, to use your term,
Yes.
in the league, what's to stop me? I mean, I don't want to say it that way, but there would be a great temptation. I know I got maybe a year, maybe two, right? I might make $1 million, whatever, right? But wouldn't it be a great temptation for me to tell my friend
Cousin
in
right?
another state, cousin, whatever, hey, give him a little tip. Why don't you put some money? You know what I mean? We'll split
Right.
it 50-50 or whatever. So, and again, that could have been there, and that temptation would be there regardless of the NFL's embrace of it, of the gambling. But it's definitely something you got to watch for. So we will see.
I thought it was
We will see.
interesting by Tony Dungy to come out and say that.
Yeah,
like
some people say he's the conscience of the NFL and all that. He's got, like you said, a lot of respect. And so I think his comment will at least get people thinking. You know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously, they're not backtracking, like you said. It is what it is. And they're going
but it
full
had me
steam ahead.
thinking. That's why I thought this would be something interesting.